Hi, I'm Greg. Welcome to AFX Studio. Following on from my video comparing ribbon mics and guitar amps, I'm here to compare 8 moving coil dynamic mics, 1 hypercardioid ribbon and a bidirectional ribbon mic on guitar amps, and hear how different they actually sound. Which you'd think had been done many times before, but I mainly found reviews of a single mic or people comparing a couple of mics. I was enjoying the sound of the SM57 used as a non-ribbon reference in my ribbon mic comparison and realised I hadn't actually used the 57 on anything in many years, mainly as I have other options and 57s are the cheapest mics I own. I feel like I should be using something better, which in my case usually means a ribbon or a 421. As I had everything set up from the ribbon mic comparison, I decided to use the same DI clips and amps set up with these mics. I included the Royer R121 as a reference to link with the ribbon mic comparison and as it's become a highly regarded mic for capturing amps. Worth hearing if it justifies the extra expense. It's not the same recording as I moved the Royer further away from the speaker this time, which is where I would usually place it. It's aimed at the same position on the cone, but being further away the proximity effect is less pronounced. Unlike with the ribbon mic comparison where I was very careful to place the actual ribbons in the same position each time, I decided to set these up with the front of the mic about a centimetre from where the grill cloth would be, which is where most people will place them. The grill isn't on the amp, so I can more easily check the position, but I used another piece of wood and the heavy mic stand again to get the position the same each time. For most of the mics, that means the capsules will be roughly the same distance from the speaker. The most obvious exception being the SM7, where the capsule is mounted further back. I included 2 SM57s as they do sound different. A Unidyne 3 which I believe dates from the 70s and one I bought new in 88, my first purchase when I started working, bought to be my live vocal mic. It would have been interesting to have a current version, but I don't have one of those. I'm going to start with some sustained power chords. exception of the Audio-Technica, which is primarily known for use on drums, all these mics are ones that are commonly used to mic guitar amps. The ATM25 is no longer in production, but still easy to find, new or used. The majority of these mics have been in production for a long time. The Beyerdynamic M160 was introduced in 1957 and the M88 in 1963. Eddie Kramer used M160s to mic Jimi Hendrix's amps. The Sennheiser MD421 was released in 1960, and the versions I have with the U standing for Universal Mount was sold from 1970 until the late 90s when they were replaced by the 421-2. The SM57 was released in 1965, the SM7 in 1973, and the B version that I have came out in 2001. The beta versions were released in the mid-90s, and the 56A, like mine, came out in 2002. The ATM25 was introduced in 92 or 3, which is when I bought mine, the Royer 98 and the Audix i5, which is the baby of the group, available since 2004. Get all that? There will be a test. In the early days of running the studio, I always used SM57s on amps when recording a band live, which is mainly what I was doing. That was a combination of what people expected, what I knew, and using what I had. If it was an overdub where I had other mics available, I would often pair one with a Sennheiser or Neumann, but pretty much always used a Shure on any amp. As part of setting up my original studio, I bought all the equipment from a studio that was closing down, along with monitors, patch bays, a power amp, console and a 16-track tape machine. They had two 57s, giving me 3 of them, an SM58, a Sennheiser 421, a Neumann U87 and KM84, and a bunch of older, cheaper Shure mics. My next mic purchases were another 421 and a pair of Audio-Technica ATM25s. Next is a short lead on my Les Paul, followed by my Danelectro baritone for some extended lows. 3 of these mics are ones I bought and only used a few times, as I was never quite sure about them. I won't say which ones, but hearing them here, I think I'll be using 2 of them more regularly. Obviously in real life you would move these mics slightly depending on the sound you were trying to capture. A test like this can really only show the difference between the mics and the overall quality of tone. What did you hear? Favourites? Change your mind about any of them? Let me know in the comments, and as always, thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.